The three pillars of MGTOW. In a previous video called What is MGTOW, I attempted to give an introductory definition and summary of its basic tenets. Please go watch it if you haven't. Yet there still remains some debate as to what the core, irreducible requirements are to be considered MGTOW.
So a couple of things here. First of all, I think this is a discussion that's worth having. Just as a personal, and I don't mean that as in the perpendicular, as an I. I'm just talking about within oneself to consider what MGTOW means to you. So I've seen the other video there, and he gets it pretty well right. It is a lifestyle choice, as he calls it. I say it's a decision that men make spontaneously and independently. And I think that's important, that it is a decision that a man makes himself without having any pressures put on him from other MGTOW. Now, my contention here with what's been said is he's saying there's three pillars that you need to adhere to be considered MGTOW. Now that is control to me. MGTOW is not about what other people think of you. It's about what you think of yourself. And so you don't need to follow rules to be considered MGTOW. You don't need to fit into a group to be considered MGTOW. That's groupthink. It's a barrier, a false barrier getting put up, because it's not about what other people consider you to be. It's what you consider yourself to be. And so I have as soon as he says this is what you need to do to be considered MGTOW, I have a contention with that. But let's carry on.
Not that MGTOW is a club, because it isn't. Nor does it have a leader who officially makes these declarations. It doesn't. But I'd like to give you what I consider to be the three pillars of MGTOW. I would hope that all MGTOWs can agree on these. It's very important that we unify and keep things simple. We already have enough against us, and as the saying goes, a house divided against itself cannot stand. Please add your opinion in the comment section as to whether you agree or disagree with what I'm about to say.
So I think that's false. I don't think unification is at all important for MGTOW. Why unify? MGTOW is not about changing the system. We're not agitating for change. Why do we need to unify at all? Now, supporting one another, I think, is important. Supporting each other in whatever capacity is required by the person requiring support. But I think, listening to MGTOW, listening to each other is enough support. Just having a sympathetic ear, it goes a long way. Tack on, this has been my experience regarding what you're saying, and you can help. Just give someone a little bit of insight into your own situation, may help them overcome why they're seeking support. It's an open question. What support can you give? But a sympathetic ear, I think, is worthwhile. But as far as unifying goes, and a house fighting amongst each other, there's no house. That MGTOW are not in a house. We have a common philosophy, a common lifestyle choice, in that, in regards to our stance, I guess you could call it, just a position about women in general. But there's no requirement or need, I think, to unify in any way. And the thing is, once you start down that road, you've got to have a leader, you've got to have a bureaucracy, you've got to have rules and regulations and blah, 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 blah. It snowballs. And I don't think any MGTOW can be bothered with any of it. You're living your own life, your own way, and I think that's important in itself.
This discussion is evolving, and I am not the final say by any means. Pillar number 1, we prioritize our own personal growth and development. I wanted to make sure that this first pillar had nothing to do with women, because really, MGTOW is not about women. It's about us. Feeling bitter or angry about past wrongs by women is okay, and perhaps a necessary phase to evolve through. But I would suggest that it will not last, and it should not define your MGTOW position. Always come back to introspection, to what motivates you, to what you want to do in the world. The beauty of this is that it does allow you to serve others, or even sacrifice. There's nothing in MGTOW which says you can't do good unto others. I try to. I believe in the golden rule. I even believe that sacrificing for others and making time for others, as long as it's on your own terms and within the parameters of your goals in life, is good for you. If it brings you joy to help someone fix their car, do it. Or if you have a friend or family member who needs your help moving from one home to another home, go help them. But don't do it out of a sense of obligation. Do it because you want to. That's the key. Contrast this with the henpecked husband who follows the orders of his wife and has what we call a honey-do list. Not because he really wants to, but because he knows there's a price to pay if he doesn't. His wife will then drag him through the divorce rape process. No. Always come back to your own personal growth and development. Don't let life relationships be positive, negative, parasitic relationships. They must be mutual or non-existent. All your relationships must be mutual. They must contribute to your growth and development. I keep using those two words for a reason. Aside from growth and development within relationships, we MGTOW must focus on improving as individuals. We are always trying to advance our careers, not for others so that they can take our money, but for us. We try to learn every day new things, to never settle in our current understanding of the world. If you're not getting better each day, then why are you living? As the famous line from Shawshank Redemption says, get busy living or get busy dying. MGTOW also makes no requirements for religion. Many of you know that I am a Bible-believing Christian. For those of you who aren't, that's fine. We can debate in another forum. But here, our religious beliefs are not relevant. MGTOW makes no requirements for religious beliefs or lack of beliefs. This is an important thing to understand, and it's the reason why I didn't include religion or religious beliefs as a pillar of MGTOW. The same thing is true with race. I don't care what race you are. If you're MGTOW, the color of your skin doesn't matter, and anyone who says it does should take a hike and find another community. What's funny about this first pillar, namely pursuing your own growth, is that it should go without say. Of course, all humans should do this, right? But in our society, we men are the disposable utilities, the workhorses. We are the clowns for other people's entertainment. So this is why it's so important to take a stand and say not anymore. I have value as an individual. I have value in the community. My hopes, dreams, and ambitions matter just like everyone else's. And I hope that all of you will pursue them. That's the first pillar.
Yeah, okay, so a lot of what you've said there I agree with, but I also disagree with some of it. MGTOW is about introspection and I would say personal growth. But I know a lot of men who are not interested in pursuing careers. They're quite happy in a very menial job, bringing home minimum wage, and pursuing interests that have got nothing to do with what they do for a living. So, I don't think that aspect of what you're saying there, that MGTOW should be career driven and strive for growth outside of themselves. I don't think that needs to be a pillar of MGTOW. And as far as what you're saying about service to others and making sure that whatever you do for another person is benefiting yourself, I think there's a benefit in doing an altruistic act for another person, regardless of yourself. So to me, what you're saying is a very self-centered, selfish way of looking at the world, and I don't think that's healthy for MGTOW. So I don't think that you should make that a pillar. As you say, you actually say that it should go without saying. Now, another thing, sort of on that topic, is I know a lot of servicemen, soldiers, Navy, Air Force, Army guys, and they are making the ultimate sacrifice, or potentially, and they are MGTOW. They are fully serving their community and MGTOW at the same time. So, to me, this you don't need to go into this. Is it going to benefit me? What am I going to get out of this if I go and help my friends repair his car or whatever? For me, it should be about respect, trust, honesty. Those are the foundations of the first pillar of MGTOW, I think, and that's to do with the red pill. So once you get that red pill down, you see the lies that society constrains you with. Society uses to constrain you, to keep you on that plantation, and it's all through the media, mainly. There's laws, of course, in that regard as well, and as far as hatred to women goes, like I said that MGTOW will have a position on women previously in this video. I didn't quite mean that. What I mean is the laws pertaining to relationships in society benefit women over men, and it's really about a system that is oppressing men or keeping men not subservient, I'd say, but on the plantation. I think it's the best way of putting that. My contention with what you're saying really is that it seems selfish to me, and I don't think that that kind of position is a basis to live on. I think you're better off looking at respect, and that's respect for yourself, respect for others, trust, so trust in yourself, to make the decisions that you need to make in your life, and trust in your friends who are trustworthy, and truth. Be honest with yourself. don't honest with yourself, honest with others. It can be quite difficult to be honest with others. You want to help others. Sometimes the best way is to be honest with them, and that can hurt them. And it's not easy to do that, but I think those three qualities form a good base, a triangular base to move forward from, and you can grow from there. So it is. I agree with you about the introspection and looking after yourself, but I don't think you need to analyze all the relationships that you've got in terms of mutual benefit and all the rest of it. So I agree with some of what you said, and I disagree with the other points that I've mentioned here.
Pillar number 2, we will not sign a legal, state-enforced marriage contract. I'm pretty sure there is no disagreement within the MGTOW community on this one. Don't sign the paper, because once you do, the state becomes the third party in the relationship. And as we all know, your best interest is not factored into from a legal standpoint. This comes back to pillar number 1 yet again. If the state doesn't have your best interest in mind, then you cannot pursue your own growth and development. It's a very simple concept.
This is a difficult one. So, you don't sign a marriage certificate. You don't get legally married in the West. Okay, now there's numerous reasons for this. One of them is that the system is against you in the West, and that goes down to no-fault divorce, which is the default in the West. So where I am in the East, both parties have to consent to divorce. So the woman can't just make divorce proceedings or initiate divorce proceedings. That doesn't go anywhere. Both the husband and wife have to consent to divorce for proceedings to go ahead. And so the divorce rate in Thailand is very low. And when men and women marry here, it is generally for life. But the culture is totally different here. Okay, the women are nothing like Western women. So your second pillar there would apply to the Western hemisphere of the world, if you like, Western systems. It doesn't really apply globally, and MGTOW is a global phenomenon. So, I agree with you that marriage or long-term relationships with Western women are out of the question. But the thing is, you look at what the Western women have to offer, and I don't know any man who wants not what they bring to the table, but just how they behave and who they are. The Western cultures have destroyed women totally. Like, they're just not women anymore. They try to be men. So it's a deeper thing. There's a lot more going on than just all MGTOW agree with never getting married. Because even on my small channel here, there's at least another guy who's married to a Thai lady who I enjoy in my comment section. So no, there's it works for West, but it's not a global position. So I think your second pillar there, it's more of a generalisation than a pillar of MGTOW.
Pillar number 3, we will not cohabit with any woman or have any living arrangement which could potentially result in a status of legal marriage. Every state has its own common law marriage rules. For some, it's living in the same home for anywhere from 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever it is, 7 years. For others, it's where you declare verbally that the woman is your wife, and or you apply for loans or sign documents as if you were husband and wife. Know the law in your area. As MGTOW, we know that cohabitation is a trap which usually results in legal marriage status. This is why we oppose it. This leaves open a number of possibilities for still having relationships. One can have short-term or long-term relationships with a woman while living in separate houses. Although even this is proving to be risky now with the recent judge who ruled that a man had to pay his ex alimony even though they resided separately. Another option is PUA. I personally wouldn't go this route, partly due to my biblical beliefs and partly because there are inherent risks with that, such as STDs and false allegations. The last option is being a MGTOW monk. This is the path I have chosen. I understand it's not for everybody, but if you can overcome the sexual need and you're generally content living alone, it's the best option available. But the point is that there are several options and that none of these are the deciding factor as to whether or not you are a MGTOW. There is much variety within our community. We need to remember what brings us together, what the basic pillars are, and we must forget the other things. We can discuss the non-essentials in videos and in comment sections, but never lose sight of the fact that they are just that, non-essentials. This will let us have a more effective voice in the world, and more men will join us as a result. So just to sum up, the 3 pillars of MGTOW as I see them. Number 1, we prioritize our own personal growth and development. Number 2, we reject legal, state-enforced marriage. And number 3, we reject any cohabitation or living arrangement which could result in legal status marriage down the road.
So pillar 1, personal growth. I see that as coming from MGTOW. I think the first that you decide to go MGTOW. Now, whether or not you decide MGTOW, the acronym, is actually in that decision is another question, because I know a lot of men who live the MGTOW lifestyle who know nothing about MGTOW. But they're definitely MGTOW. They're definitely living the MGTOW lifestyle choice, but they're not MGTOW. No, they don't identify as MGTOW, I should say. They're not bachelors either. Like a bachelor can just fall into a bachelorhood just through the decisions that he makes in his life, like devotes himself to his job to the exclusion of all else, and finds himself in a self-imposed rut, really, and just carries on working until he dies, basically. That's not MGTOW. That's just being a bachelor. A MGTOW is about making that decision to go MGTOW. Or it's about the decision to not have anything to do with women. I think that is a part of MGTOW. It's the red pill part of MGTOW. You've got to have that red pill in you before you can go MGTOW, I think. So personal, yes. Growth, I think, comes from once you decide to get the women out of your life improves, and then you've got time on your hands and money on your hands, and you've got to find something to do with them, and that's where the growth comes in. So I don't think that your first pillar needs to be about growth or personal growth or career growth or anything like that. I'm not sure that you're on the right track there. Pillar number 2 is more about the system that keeps you on the plantation, and it's more than just marriage. It's about the provide and protect and work yourself into an early grave for the benefit of everyone but yourself, and in a system that will take everything from you is at the whim of a woman. It's not about marriage per se, as in the risks of that relationship, that legal status, outweigh the benefits of it. And that's to do with the system, and the system that tells women that they can have it all, and if they're not happy, they can just throw that part of their life away, walk away with all the assets and the money, and get another man to fulfill that, just to chop and change man after man after man after man, and at every step benefit from the destruction of those men's lives. That's that kind of system that allows that and encourages that I think is more than just marriage, as in your pillar number 2. I think it's a bigger issue than just the marriage contract. And that leads on to pillar number 3, which is the cohabitation and in Australia they call it a de facto relationship. It kicks in after 6 months of cohabitation. As far as relationships with women go, I think that it's a personal decision for MGTOW, and how, understand the risks before you enter into these relationships and look after yourself. But I don't think that our voices need to be unified. I mean, to me, like trying to get organised MGTOW from my perspective is like trying to herd cats. It'll never happen. That men are going their own way, and I say good on them. I support you, and I think that's all that needs to happen. I don't think that our voices need to be heard, because we're not agitating for change. If you do want change, I think you should look at the MRM or MRA, depending on how you look at it. But the men's rights movement is more along what you're looking at, because MGTOW, once we're off that plantation, we don't need to have our voices heard. And that's why I think there are millions and millions of MGTOW around the world. I think there's millions of us, but only a few voices, a tiny minority of voices, because most MGTOW can't be bothered with it. They've got better things to do with their time. I think that's why there's no need to impose pillars and have to be considered MGTOW and all the rest. I think it's just too much. I think live your life and talk. Like, I'm not saying don't talk about MGTOW. What I'm saying is there's no need to unify. There's no need to pursue anything other than happiness in yourself. And I think that starts with respect, trust, honesty. I think those are 3 pillars that would serve a MGTOW more than imposition of regulations in how to live one's life. I think it comes from within.
Where you go from there is your own choice. You are a man going your own way.